Whispers hold secrets. Night embraces silence. Dreams breathe softly. Stars shine bright. Moon watches gently. Sky holds prayers. Hearts seek truth. Love heals wounds. Faith guides souls. Hope lights paths. Tears hide pain. Eyes reveal stories. Hands write destiny. Winds carry whispers. Oceans keep secrets. Mountains stand strong. Sands count memories. Time heals hearts. Patience builds strength. Kindness saves souls. Courage fights fear. Wisdom shapes choices. Strength hides tears. Gentleness breaks walls. Peace invites light. Voices call hope. Shadows hide longing. Morning brings faith. Evening calms sorrow. Night teaches patience. Dreams chase stars. Souls seek peace. Hearts carry burdens. Eyes chase horizons. Steps leave marks. Paths reveal destiny. Choices shape futures. Smiles hide storms. Silence speaks truth. Words heal pain. Hearts remember silence. Dreams carry love. Tears wash pain. Smiles hide wounds. Shadows follow steps. Light heals darkness. Hope grows strong. Faith never dies. Courage builds bridges. Patience saves souls. Stars guide wanderers. Moon blesses seekers. Night holds truth. Dawn brings mercy. Morning gives light. Evening hides sorrow. Winds sing prayers. Sands hold time. Mountains guard secrets. Oceans carry depth. Love conquers fear. Kindness breaks chains. Truth shines bright. Wisdom leads souls. Gentleness calms storms. Strength hides pain. Memories live forever. Choices build destinies. Voices touch hearts. Dreams shape worlds. Eyes speak silently. Hands write fate. Steps chase tomorrow. Paths cross often. Souls meet unexpectedly. Hearts beat endlessly. Tears cleanse wounds. Smiles mend hearts. Silence teaches patience. Faith carries strength. Courage climbs mountains. Hope lights darkness. Peace heals wounds. Trust builds bridges. Kindness saves lives. Love forgives everything. Dreams open doors. Souls fly high. Hearts bloom gently. Time reveals truth. Shadows hide secrets. Stars tell stories. Moon listens softly. Sky holds whispers. Night knows hearts. Morning heals wounds. Sun warms souls. Rain cleans pain. Storms test strength. Winds move dreams. Eyes hold oceans. Words cut deep. Smiles save hearts. Silence hides storms. Dreams whisper hope. Faith brings peace. Hope guides souls. Truth frees minds. Love unites worlds. Kindness changes everything. Hearts crave peace. Dreams chase light. Tears heal silently. Faith carries mountains. Hope whispers gently. Love breaks barriers. Time teaches wisdom. Silence hides truth. Words build bridges. Courage defeats fear. Stars paint skies. Moon guards dreams. Night holds mysteries. Morning breathes mercy. Evening calms storms. Rain cleans hearts. Winds carry songs. Oceans mirror skies. Mountains touch heaven. Deserts teach patience. Eyes reveal pain. Hands shape destiny. Souls write stories. Steps mark time. Paths meet often. Journeys test strength. Memories stay eternal. Smiles disguise tears. Patience grows strong. Kindness saves worlds. Hearts forgive deeply. Love never ends. Dreams inspire hope. Faith never falls. Truth always shines. Courage stands tall. Gentleness melts pride. Silence speaks loud. Tears cleanse souls. Smiles light darkness. Night loves silence. Stars bless seekers. Moon calms oceans. Sky shelters prayers. Dawn brings hope. Morning wakes courage. Evening hugs sorrow. Rain kisses earth. Storms shape strength. Winds teach freedom. Souls find peace. Hearts seek light. Eyes hold secrets. Words hide wounds. Steps chase dreams. Destiny writes fate. Time heals everything. Memories whisper softly. Patience builds bridges. Kindness lasts forever. Love saves souls. Hope lifts hearts. Faith builds strength. Courage stands unbroken. Gentleness spreads peace. Truth sets free. Wisdom guides paths. Dreams fly high. Tears water growth. Smiles heal wounds. Shadows test faith. Darkness hides lessons. Stars show direction. Moon comforts wanderers. Sky holds mercy. Night guards lovers. Morning lifts spirits. Rain cleans pain. Storms pass slowly. Winds move souls. Eyes reflect skies. Hearts bloom kindness. Souls shine light. Dreams touch stars. Faith never breaks. Hope never fades. Love always wins. Truth never hides. Time reveals secrets. Patience protects hearts. Hearts seek light. Souls chase peace. Dreams guide journeys. Faith builds bridges. Hope lights darkness. Love forgives all. Time heals wounds. Patience teaches strength. Kindness saves souls. Truth always shines. Eyes reveal stories. Tears cleanse hearts. Smiles hide pain. Silence speaks deeply. Steps chase destiny. Paths cross often. Journeys test faith. Choices shape futures. Memories last forever. Wisdom leads gently. Stars guide seekers. Moon blesses wanderers. Sky holds prayers. Night guards dreams. Morning brings peace. Evening whispers sorrow. Rain cleans sins. Storms test courage. Winds carry hope. Oceans mirror truth. Mountains stand strong. Deserts teach patience. Rivers carve paths. Trees shelter souls. Flowers spread love. Shadows test courage. Light heals wounds. Faith moves mountains. Hope never dies. Love conquers everything. Hearts forgive deeply. Souls heal slowly. Dreams chase endlessly. Courage builds strength. Wisdom shapes choices. Gentleness melts pride. Silence heals pain. Patience saves lives. Time reveals mercy. Kindness changes worlds. Eyes see truth. Words break chains. Tears hide storms. Smiles mend souls. Faith lifts hearts. Hope carries dreams. Love unites people. Truth frees minds. Courage stands tall. Wisdom teaches peace. Night knows secrets. Stars write stories. Moon listens silently. Sky shelters souls. Dawn wakes hearts. Morning spreads mercy. Evening hugs shadows. Rain blesses earth. Storms pass gently. Winds move time. Souls find light. Hearts hold faith. Dreams inspire courage. Patience grows strong. Kindness saves lives. Wisdom guides souls. Truth heals wounds. Love lasts forever. Hope always rises. Faith never falls. Eyes shine bright. Hands build futures. Steps mark journeys. Paths lead souls. Choices test hearts. Memories hold love. Smiles spread peace. Tears cleanse deeply. Silence teaches wisdom. Time heals everything. Mountains touch skies. Oceans hold depth. Deserts test faith. Rivers sing softly. Stars shine endlessly. Moon guards lovers. Night embraces silence.